What comes to mind when you hear political correctness, wokeness, and cancel culture? Maybe a candidate being hired because they satisfy the requirement of being a woman of colour, rather than actually being qualified for the job. A red-haired college student whining that you didn't use their pronouns Z and J correctly. Or an online mob finding a 5-year-old tweet of yours that could be construed as racist. This is why I didn't have a Twitter account 5 years ago. Whatever the case, it is pretty easy to agree that these all can range from being just annoying to detrimental to society. Particularly about cancel culture, where you're worried the scope of what you could actually say in public is slowly closing and that free speech is under attack. But then again, we have someone at odds with this. They'll retort that your free speech isn't under threat, since the government isn't restricting what you can say. It is just that a lot of people don't like what you're saying and are rightfully criticizing it. After all, freedom of speech isn't freedom from consequences. And you know what? There is some truth to this. As a society, we have freedom of association, and we all have the right to disassociate with others and call for other people to disassociate with someone regardless of the validity of why they are doing it. Hence, from a legal perspective, cancel culture is a part of free speech. Some from the same camp may argue that hate speech doesn't allow everyone equal access to free speech, and BreadTuber PhilosophyTube articulates this point best by focusing on the definition of power.
Political scientist Michael Taylor says that power is the ability to alter the range of someone's available actions, to expand or to limit somebody's options.
Thorne soon provides various examples of power based on this definition.
So for instance, if I'm the government, I can pass laws that limit your options, or I can repeal laws and extend your options. Parents expand or limit the options of their children. That's another kind of power. Your boss probably expands or limits your choices in terms of when you're allowed to turn up at work and when you're allowed to leave. If you injure somebody or kill them, you exercise power over their choices in terms of how they can use their body. If you commit hate speech, you limit somebody's options in terms of how they are seen in public and maybe even how they see themselves.
So according to PhilosophyTube, if you use your free speech in a hateful way, you are using power that will increase negative perceptions of innocent minorities, which lead to their options being limited due to greater discrimination arising from said hate speech. This train of thought has led many to further justify cancel culture as not only a useful but necessary tool to beat down hate speech. But what they don't realize is that cancel culture can be used against them. That people advocating for certain progressive issues can be silenced with accusations of bigotry. Some may scoff and claim that this will rarely happen. Oh, is that so? Well, I have an important story to tell you. In Britain, you have this popular BBC quiz show called University Challenge, where university students participate. The show has their contestants wearing mascots of their respective teams. But one female doctoral student was accused of anti-Semitism by a Baroness / member of the House of Lords a few months ago. This was based on the mascot allegedly having the same colours as an anti-Semitic flag, and the octopus near the mascot apparently further played into anti-Semitic tropes, since this creature is often used as a symbol of Jewish control over the world by conspiracy theorists. Regardless of the validity of these accusations, this Baroness took to Twitter to not only make her accusation public, but call for the student to be expelled from her university and arrested by the police. She even tagged the Prime Minister, other high-profile politicians, the BBC, and the National Communications Regulator, Ofcom. And frankly, this is all outrageous. Regardless of whether the student was wearing something anti-Semitic, she had the right to wear it without legal action being taken against her. Bigotry is horrible, but is a part of free speech. After all, if we could arrest people for accusations of bigotry, then these hate speech laws can target people with legitimate causes, but be wrongly smeared as bigoted. Now that SJW character might come again and claim that they may not agree with the arrests and government action. But if you wear something anti-Semitic, especially with the octopus that symbolizes the bigotry that plagues the Jewish people to this day, then you must face the consequences. Now, if you are familiar with the story I am talking about, and noticed how I basically censored certain words of the sources / articles I just used, then you will know that the female was a Muslim student called Melikah Gorganieh, learning astrophysics on a doctoral level. I probably butchered that name. Anyway, Gorgianeh's team's mascot was a blue octopus, and she was wearing a multicolored jacket with colours of navy blue, orange, pink, and green. Now, why are these colours important? Because the Baroness, who is the conservative Jacqueline Foster, claimed that these were the colours of the Palestinian flag, and that the student was the one who created this. While from this image of Gorgianeh, it does somewhat resemble the colour scheme of the Palestinian flag, the suit does not have the same colours as the Palestinian flag, since the flag is black, white, red, and green. Also, the mascot suit was created by the team, not one student. But even if the girl was wearing the colours of the Palestinian flag, so what? The Palestinian flag isn't necessarily anti-Semitic. P.S. If you're enjoying the video so far, please give a like, as it will really help the video in the YouTube algorithm. Anyways, if you don't know, the Israel-Palestine debate is based on one side believing that the Jews, a group of people that has been historically oppressed, requires land that they can call their own to avoid such tragedies again, and that this land would be modern-day Israel in the Middle East. The other side believes that in order to create this state, Palestinians were unjustly kicked out of their own land to make way for immigrants that now live as citizens of Israel and face widespread discrimination and apartheid. Regardless of which side you believe is correct, I think it's obvious that there are many on the Palestinian side who don't hate Jews but believe that Palestinians are victims of the Israeli government. While there are legitimate concerns of anti-Semitism within the Palestinian movement, to paint all members of this movement as anti-Semitic is intellectually dishonest. I myself have no informed opinion on the matter and prefer to not say anything until I have researched it much better. This has of course gone on deaf ears for some people, such as right-wing commentator David Atherton, who also slandered Gorgianeh as an anti-Semite. In response, Gorgianeh pointed out that this false allegation of anti-Semitism led her to receive death threats. Baroness Foster apologized. Gorgianeh's solicitor also stated that as the Baroness is in a position of great authority, her words carry far greater weight and impact. This was probably the legal justification for why the conservative Baroness had to pay substantial damages to the student. And this perfectly demonstrates how if you label someone as hateful, you limit somebody's options in terms of how they are seen in public, similar to Philosophy Tube's train of thought. This is cancel culture weaponized by conservatives against demographics that the left are concerned are under threat from widespread discrimination and systemic inequalities. Demographics such as Muslims and those who oppose Israel. Frankly, I am disappointed in so-called conservatives who not only engaged in cancel culture, but wanted to use the state to clamp down on their opposition for different political beliefs. I guess this is when the saying conservatism is progressivism driving the speed limit takes a more negative meaning, and it also indicates the rather authoritarian nature of Britain when it comes to hate speech laws. I am personally skeptical of defamation laws and paying damages to people you defamed, and prefer that successful cases of defamation be limited, but I can see the need for defamation laws. Although I am not well versed on this legal matter, my point still stands that cancel culture is detrimental to the left. And to make matters worse for the pro-Palestine side, there are other moves, such as a congressional resolution in Washington DC that equates anti-Zionism, the movement against Israel, with anti-Semitism. Hassam Murajada, an organizer of US Palestinian Community Network, derided this measure as an attempt to quote-unquote cancel Palestinian rights advocates by accusing them of bigotry and labeling their actions as hate speech. I probably butchered his name as well. Anyways, I predicted instances like this in a previous video called Free Speech and Power Dynamics, a response to Philosophy Tube and Sam Seder on hate speech and Israel. Considering that this story has been covered by the more left-leaning outlet Al Jazeera, there is a startling realization by the left that cancel culture can come from pro-Palestine and anti-Israel voices, and the support behind the Muslim student for this unjust defamation through forcing the Baroness to pay damages means that lefties are more than willing to push against this form of cancel culture. But woke left-wingers going against calling people anti-Semitic so carelessly would be a massive U-turn from how they usually approach political issues. So it would be interesting to see how consistent they are on this. In fact, the story about the university student isn't that well known or widespread, but it appears to be a small stepping stone in changing the woke worldview. Who knows, maybe the Israel issue will alter the politically correct left. Maybe not. We'll see. But I would like to thank you all for watching this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, please give a like and comment, as well as subscribe if you are interested in more conservative-leaning content. I've recently been criticizing President Biden's economic policies, and plan to release more, such as criticizing windfall taxes and responding to online political pundits like Karl Klodsky. Anyways, thanks for watching, and see you later. Bye.